As we are connecting the past to the future, new initiatives to build out the broadband infrastructure and get kids excited about science and vaccine research, plus a celebration of the legacy of George Westinghouse on the occasion of his 175th birthday. But first, the big broadband bill. Actually, there have been a couple of them. The bipartisan infrastructure bill recently signed by President Joe Biden includes about $65 billion in federal funding to expand broadband access and 5G connectivity nationwide. The federal investment caps the year in which Pennsylvania laid the groundwork to put its share of the infrastructure funding to work. State Representative Jim Marshall is back with us. He led the charge with State Representative Robert Matzie to improve the 5G regulatory environment in Pennsylvania. Jenn is Vice President of Government Relations at the Greater Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, an affiliate of the Allegheny Conference, which co-produces this program. Welcome. Good to see all three of you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Representative Matzie, I'll start with you. First, I've got to ask you about the big federal bill. What kind of an impact do you think it's going to have in your district and here in our region?
Well, big impact. I think that, a variety of parts of southwestern Pennsylvania especially do have unserved areas as well as underserved areas. And with the dollars that are going to be earmarked specifically as it relates to broadband, we really can capitalize. And we've been putting building blocks together in Harrisburg to ensure that Pennsylvania will be prepared and ready to go. $42+ billion nationally. Every state will get $100 million up front, and then it's going to be up to the states to show that they have a plan in place. We believe we have the building blocks in place to take advantage of it. And of course, the current president was always considered the third senator of Pennsylvania, so we're hoping to get our fair share and more here in Pennsylvania. So we want to make sure we have the adequate plan in place.
Yeah, Representative Marshall, we all learned the hard way during the pandemic of how important this connectivity is from urban to rural communities across our region, is it not?
It is, and we need this infrastructure investment. It needs to be done wisely, and it'll really strengthen connectivity here. I believe it'll also strengthen our national security and our economy. And sure, during the pandemic, we learned how important that connectivity is for our family's education, for our family's health care, and for many, many people, the opportunity to work from home.
And Jen, a real achievement both here in Pennsylvania and at the federal level. These were bipartisan bills, bipartisan legislation. Is that something that you think is worth noting?
Absolutely, Bill. Yeah, we definitely applaud the bipartisan effort on the federal infrastructure investment. And really, as the two representatives said, we really look forward to putting those dollars to work. But I'm wondering if maybe the federal officials even took a page out of the state playbook when it comes to bipartisanship, because I think it's important to highlight and recognize and thank Representative Marshall and Representative Matzie, the Republican and the Democratic chairs of the House Consumer Affairs Committee here in PA, who've led on a number of issues together, but especially the 5G legislation over the summer that showcases the bipartisan nature, their commitment to leading on this issue. I also think it's really important to note that they're both from our region, from southwestern Pennsylvania and Beaver County. It's very telling that our leaders from the region understand how important these connectivity issues are to our economy and to our quality of life.
Well, we've got a long history of collaboration here in southwestern Pennsylvania. It's great to see it still plays out in Harrisburg. Representative Matzie, this 5G legislation that was approved actually last summer, why was that such a big deal here in Pennsylvania? What do you hope it will accomplish?
Well, it was 5+ years in the making, quite frankly, and really finally getting it across the finish line was a big goal of ours when Representative Marshall came on as the new Republican chairman at the start of this session. That was the first thing he and I spoke about, and really getting all stakeholders to the table was the key ingredient to finally getting us across the finish line, from the companies to organized labor to the communities, the municipalities, the counties, etc. And when we were finally able to get everyone around the table, we were finally able to come up with legislation that brings about a predictable framework that will allow build out to occur in all 67 counties. And really having that predictable framework was key. There's nothing on the books that prevented companies from coming in as we speak, but it was important for us and it was important for the municipalities and important for the workforce to ensure that it was a safe environment. And we were able to get all of that done in the language of Act 50. So it really was a big deal. And I think oftentimes legislation like this doesn't necessarily get the headlines, but this is a big deal and really will go a long way in advancing and in erasing the digital divide, at least in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, Representative Marshall, a little bit less than a minute left, but I do have to ask, they always say legislation's like watching sausage being made, and you do have to get everybody to the table. Do you feel as if in the 5G case that you actually have been able to satisfy all those competing interests, Representative Marshall?
Absolutely. As Rob said, predictability, that's what the industry is looking for. And, there were highlights for the municipalities too. There were liability protections, and there were options that they could have for even the aesthetics of the equipment. If they're in historic districts, I think it was the best legislation, best 5G for municipalities, maybe nationwide.
Congratulations to all of you, Representative Marshall, Representative Matzie, Jenn from the Pittsburgh Chamber. It's great work. It really paves the way for a brighter future in Pennsylvania, and celebrate with a happy Thanksgiving. Next up, following in the footsteps of Jonas Salk to keep our region on the frontier of vaccine research, making our kids aware of it. Please stay with us.